Well, hey, and welcome to another video. So today I want to talk about the global EQ from a very overview perspective. I'm not going to get too particular about it, but I just want to give you a basic run through on how it works and the different parameters that you can mess with to adjust your sound from a global standpoint. So as you can see, I'm in the global EQ section. How you get into that is from your regular preset. You swipe down from the top and you go to global EQ. So basically my EQ right now is on. However, if I go to my output section right here, you can see that I only have it assigned to outs 3 and 4. And the reason for that for my personal use is because I use a Friedman ASC10 cab and I find that it is lacking in the 2K region. So as you can see, I have that boosted right here. So when you go onto the main global EQ setting here, you can see you have a Parametric 5 EQ. So basically it comes up with these parameters for every single adjustment point here, as well as a regular output, which you can also just boost if you're finding that you're not getting quite enough output out of your presets and you don't want to go through and adjust each one, and you also have the volume knob at maximum. You can just go ahead and, as a quick kind of step, if you're on stage or something, you can go ahead and just boost that output alone. Just make sure that it's assigned to the correct output. So looking briefly here, the adjustments are similar for each of the points, 1 through 5 here, but I will just go through this one in particular. So the type, there's a few different types here. There's a peak, high pass, low pass, high shelf, and low shelf. So a peak is basically, it's going to give you either a peak up like this or a peak down like this. You've got a high pass, which is basically only letting, as the pictogram depicts here, it's only letting high frequencies pass through. Low pass, same opposite thing. So as you can see on point 1, because I want basically some of my lows rolled off, I'm having a high pass filter on that. Low pass is the opposite. You would usually use that at the end of the chain, so right there. And then a high shelf, you're basically taking the highs out, and a low shelf is basically the opposite there. So I'm leaving that on a high pass, and we can go on to the next parameter here. So if I look at, let's go to parameter 3 here. So you can see I've made a few adjustments to the gain. The frequency I also changed a little bit because I know that that speaker that I use frequently is lacking in the 2K region, so I set it to 2000 hertz, which is 2K hertz. The gain is basically the amount that you're boosting that signal. So I had, I think, a 2 dB gain on that. And the frequency, as you can see, as you adjust that, it just basically moves that marker back and forth based on the frequency. So if you want to go down to like 300 hertz, that's what that looks like, etc., etc. The Q is basically how much of a point is on that frequency. So if you want it more exact, you're going to turn the Q up, and the dot kind of blurs it out, but it's basically getting more pointed at the top here. And the opposite to, you're getting a broader sweep basically, so it's going to be encompassing more frequencies. So as you can see, even as low as 1K and maybe 800 or something like that, you're getting a slight boost here. So I keep that around there, and then obviously the bypass just means you can bypass that certain point, and it just basically makes it flat. As a basic overview, that's essentially the gist of it. Again, your outputs, you can assign it based upon which outputs you would like to use for the EQ, so either outs 1 and 2 or outs 3 and 4, and you have the option to boost the overall level as well. Let's just take 5 for example. It's got a high shelf. I'm actually going to do this, and you can also just kind of drag as well on that. So if you wanted my high roll off at, I don't know, 10 hertz, 10K hertz, something like that. That's essentially what that would look like. It's just a roll off essentially. And a peak, as I said, that's basically what number 3 is here in my EQ. And that's the basics of the EQ in the quad cortex for the global EQ. If you go out of it, and you can see this dot here beside the button, that means that the EQ is engaged. And then again, you would just tap into it to get into the specific parameters and adjust as you'd like. So if you're new to equalizers, kind of a good way to get used to it is just mess around with it. So take parameter 3, for example, and assign it to whatever output you're listening to. If you've got studio monitors hooked up or something like that, just basically take one of the points and just start going through and really adjusting those levels. So if you boost on let's say at 2K hertz or something, you're doing a 9 decibel boost, well, you're going to be able to identify where in the frequency that lies right away. And do that with a bunch of the frequencies. So the guitar, operates between, about 60 hertz to 12, 15K basically, depending on the amplifier. But just mess around with that. I have the low and high roll-offs here just to get rid of some extraneous kind of overtones and stuff like that that I don't find desirable in the specific amps that I use. But that's basically a way to just, you're not going to break anything, and it's a really friendly interface. As I said, you can just basically take it and drag it wherever you'd like. But that would be a good way to kind of get used to it. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel and also give the video a like, and leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section below, and I will try my best to address them. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.